Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of remote learning. Here are a few updates for you. The first one is that MCAS has officially been canceled for this school year. So, anyone who was still concerned about that, no need to worry anymore. So, good news there. Next week is April vacation. So, the district is still having the vacation. Some of your teachers will still post work for those of you who want to do the work during next week because it's just what we've been doing anyway. Today was the last day to pick up a laptop. If you know someone who still needs a computer, please have them call the school or get in touch with Mrs. Jensen or Mrs. Trujillo. Um, a lot of you are making great progress on your iReady lessons. Remember, if you keep doing this, it's going to help you stay on track to meeting your yearly growth and maxing out the iReady program in 7th or 8th grade. A few of you called me this week for help with lessons, which is really great. Please keep that up. And for anyone else, if you're struggling to pass a quiz, please just message me or call me on Teams. I'd be more than happy to walk you through the quiz, just like we would if we were still actually in school. For independent reading, I've been checking Epic, and I see that some of you are doing a really good job reading for 20 minutes a day, which is really great. Some of you have been helping me to test out Overdrive, which is a new thing through the library that they gave us to use. Unfortunately, it seems like so many people are using it that a lot of the books have a wait list, so it's not super helpful. But if you see a book that you're really interested in, I just message me and I will do my best to find it for you so that you have access. So now for our small group, or what would have been our small group lesson for the week, I've decided to pick up where we left off when we were talking about the structure of poems. A bunch of you have made really great progress on the blue lesson that I assigned for this standard. So I'm just going to circle back and review some of the things that we already talked about or some of the things that happened in the lesson that some of you might have struggled with. So I've got a really brief presentation here to give you, and there's a worksheet on Teams that I'm going to be looking at next week. So you've got the whole week to do it, and I'm going to start it with you today. So we're going to be focusing again on poetry structure, and which also includes theme, which we've talked about before. So to give you a look at the standard, this is 6.5. I will analyze how a particular line or stanza fits into the overall structure of a poem and contributes to the development of the theme. So that's the standard we're focusing on, but we're also looking at RL1, which is making inferences, and RL2, which is determining the theme of a piece of literature. So some review here. Poems are divided up into lines. One sentence might be spread over a few lines. So when we're looking at each individual part and how it fits into the whole, we're going to refer to the line numbers to be able to understand how each line contributes to the overall message of the poem. Lines are also organized into stanzas. A stanza is like a paragraph. It contains a main idea of the poem. So some poems are really short and might only be one stanza. Some might be a few stanzas long, and each stanza will have its own particular message that contributes to the overall message of the poem. The form of a poem describes how the poem is written, including the number of lines, stanzas, and rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme describes the pattern of end rhymes within the poem. So there are a whole bunch of different forms of poetry, and in 5th grade and in English class this year, I'm sure you've looked at a bunch of different forms of poetry. What we want to really look at, though, is how the rhyme scheme contributes to the overall meaning of the poem. And when we're talking about rhyme scheme, we're looking at the end rhymes, which we'll practice with a poem in a second on the next slide. So here's an example. This one's called Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. It's only one stanza long, so I want to use this to focus on identifying the number of lines and the rhyme scheme. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. So let's just take a look at the number of lines here. So we've got fire, ice, desire, fire, twice, hate, ice, great, and suffice. So those are the ends of all the lines, and there's 9. So there's 9 lines total, and there's only one stanza here. Now let's work on determining the rhyme scheme. Now remember, to do this, the first line is always A. That's how we label it with letters. So fire is our first end rhyme, so that's our A. So anything that rhymes with fire is also going to be A. Some say an ice. Now ice doesn't rhyme with fire, so that's going to be our B. From what I've tasted of desire, so desire rhymes with fire, that is also A. I hold with those who favor fire. Okay, so we've got another A, because that's fire. But if it had to perish twice, twice rhymes with ice, so that's B. I think I know enough of hate. Hate we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen that end rhyme. So that's going to be C. To say that for destruction ice, ice rhymes with twice, that's another B, is also great. So great rhymes with hate, which is C, and would suffice. So suffice rhymes with ice. So we end with B. Now, normally stanzas will usually be a little shorter than this, so your rhyme scheme might only be 4 letters long, but this is just an example of how to label the lines based on what the end rhyme is. So when poets set out to create a poem, they're trying to take a really big idea and put it in as few words as possible. So what we want to look for is how the theme develops over the course of the poem. A poem's kind of like a puzzle. Every line or stanza is like a puzzle piece. The theme or overall message or meaning of the poem is a picture you get once you put all the puzzle pieces together. So some of the questions we're going to look at are going to have you take a look at individual lines or stanzas to be able to figure out what the overall message is. So you're going to follow these steps. Look at each individual line. Think about why the poet would use those specific words. Think about the main idea of each stanza. How does that stanza fit into the poem as a whole? And then think about how the lines or stanzas relate to each other. What is the overall message that the poet is trying to send? So now we're going to head over to Teams, where you're going to see a worksheet with a couple of poems, also by Robert Frost, and we're going to practice these skills with those poems. So here's the assignment on Teams. The instructions say, read the poems below and answer the questions that follow. For the multiple choice, write one sentence explaining your answer. So for the questions that are just open response, you just write an answer like you normally would. For the multiple choice, write the letter you would have put and one sentence explaining why you chose that. So the first poem we have here is Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. So let's take a look at the first question together. So this is a part A, part B. Which of the following best describes the theme of the poem? A, spending time in nature can have positive effects on a person's mind. B, animals can provide people with comfort during difficult times. C, it is common for people to feel fearful about their future. Or D, Spending time in nature can make people feel more alone than they are. So I'm going to have to go back to the text and really look at the different lines and how they all fit together. So I've got two stanzas. The first one, the way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. So when I look at this, I see a bunch of things that have to do with nature. So I have a crow, I have a bird, I have snow, so that is part of nature as well. And then there's a tree. So it seems like the first stanza has to do with nature. The second stanza seems to have to do with the speaker himself. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Now, rude is an interesting word. So let's take a look at our footnote. To rue something is to regret it deeply. So if we kind of put that together, it seems that spending time in nature gave the speaker a change of heart and saved some part of a day that he had rued. So a day that he had regretted, something that was upsetting him, something that, was causing his heart to have pain. Spending time in nature was a way for him to heal from that. So with that in mind, take a look at the letter choices that you have and think about which one makes the most sense for the theme. And then write one sentence explaining why you chose that answer. So that's it for this week's small group lesson. Please feel free, if you have questions, to post on Teams if you think it's a question that other people might have had, or if you want help individually, please send me a private message on Teams or give me a call on Teams. I'll be available pretty much every day of the week, and I have Teams on my phone, so just reach out if you are having problems with iReady or with the assignment, or if you're having trouble finding a book for independent reading. I hope that you all are doing well and staying safe. Again, please reach out if you need anything. Okay, take care, everybody.